Welcome to Hey Therapist. I'm your host, Leslie Ross. With me is my producer, Jay Wesley Lindley. Let's get mental. Okay. So, will we have that other audio or no?
No, we can start over.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hey Therapist. Again, you won't know that it's again, but we had to reboot because technology is not my friend.
The gimbal's cool, but if it works.
If it works.
Right.
I have to figure out the ins and outs of the gimbal. I need Deidre to teach me. Help me, Deidre, help me.
Help me, Deidre.
Help
me, Deidre.
So before the video was weird in our first round there, we were talking about cleaning.
Yes, I've been doing a lot of, I guess you could call it spring cleaning because it kind of feels like spring around here.
It's very springy.
Yeah.
It's like 75 degrees right now.
Rachel, our daughter's been living with us while she transitions from college to work life. And shout out Rachel. She moved yesterday, moved in, everything.
Officially moved.
So that's cool. But she was on a cleaning spree at the house and really motivated me to do so here at the radio station. So and at the house in my spaces as well, because she didn't touch any of my spaces, quote unquote. So yeah, she said, well, you're gonna have to join me on those. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just watch y'all do y'all's.
Yeah,
and
you just go
I'll
ahead over there.
slowly work on mine. But no, lots of spring cleaning. I think it looks nice back here now. Especially,
it looks it's very much, it's more organized for sure.
Yeah, I just basically move piles each time I clean, to a different organization.
That's how my house is right now. I'm still in the rent house, as we know. I've talked about it, which is great. I'm not knocking it because I have a place to live.
Yes, it's a blessing, but
it is.
I mean,
it's not mine.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of things that I have not unpacked, and then I do get more things sometimes, and I don't. I was really good. I had gotten really good at when I would get something new or like buy new clothes or something like that, I would get rid of something that I didn't wear or something that was similar to it. Because a lot of times I have my style, which you wouldn't know it by watching the podcast because I don't have any style on here, but it's okay. It's my normal style. Like I joke, and me and my sister joke that we have like 3 looks, and it's work look, home look, which is kind of homelessy. Like on a regular basis, if you see me out and about, I'm dressed like a teenage boy most of the time.
Yeah.
I just love a t-shirt and some cargos or wind pants or whatever they are.
Comfort over fashion.
Comfort over fashion for sure.
Which is no big deal.
And then we have a going out look, which makes me look like a totally different person most of the time, but it's fine. I enjoy those 3 looks. And so I do have certain things I like to wear and, t-shirts, basic t-shirts, whatever. So if I replace like my black t-shirts, then I need to get rid of some that are a little dingy or not as black, whatever. But I have not been doing that lately. So I need to purge in my clothing. I have a lot of clothing. I have a lot of shoes.
Well, now I've done quote unquote spring cleaning, which, you go through and quote deep clean, get the baseboards and everything.
Yes.
But this was different on a whole other level of cleaning because it was almost like that show where the hoarders or whatever, where they basically went through each piece and was like, have you used this in a year?
Do you love it?
Do you need, is there a reason why, you know what I mean?
Right.
We did that for many closets, many drawers.
Yes.
Many cabinets, what is technically the garage, but is now kind of converted into the the laundry room / area, catch-all area. We even did that. That's not a catch-all anymore.
Nice.
That's just for laundry stuff. And then there's some more other. Yeah, but yeah, it's crazy. So this is a level of cleaning that I've never done. I think.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah, this is. Prior to living where I live now, that level of cleaning meant I just moved away from it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I just left it, and somebody else had to deal with it.
That's right. Or
I just emptied the entire, took what I got, packed up what I wanted, and then I emptied the entire closet into a bin and tossed it into the bin.
Sure. Yeah. If there was something I needed there, I don't.
I haven't seen it in a year, at least.
Anymore.
So, yeah.
I have to say with the I've been lucky that the only house that I ever owned that was hit by a tornado, we hadn't moved into. So none of the stuff was there. But when the office got hit, I took every opportunity to throw away a bunch of the stuff and junk that previous staff had just been keeping because it was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't state equipment, none of those things. It was just like kitchen stuff and junk. Like we had a crock pot that didn't work, that was still in a cabinet. But when the people that were there before, they're like, no, don't throw that away. Then find something to do with it. Get it out of here.
Somebody left it 14 years ago.
Exactly.
And they left it because it broke.
Because it broke, because it didn't work. Or that's why they brought it to the office. Because it
like,
didn't
I
work
don't
very
need
well.
it.
I'll take it up there.
It'll stay warm, but it ain't cooking nothing.
Exactly. So let me take it to the office and see if I can. No. So we did that, but I need to, and Laura is very good about doing it. My sister, his wife, is very good about cleaning and throwing away when it's not hers.
Yes.
So,
but she's horrible when it's her own.
With love.
Yes.
With love, we say that. When it's hers, she's not as good. And I'm not as good either. But when we have moved me the last couple times, we've done really good about purging things then.
Yeah.
Instead of packing it, like, why are we packing this?
How many cups do you need?
Like, how many of the same cup do you need from the same restaurant that was free?
It was a free cup. It was an awesome cup. It looked cool.
Like, I don't need 7 Deep Deuce Grill cups. But they're
they look
plastic
neat.
and
Yeah.
they're neat.
What
and
if
they
I have a
got
party
the
and I need
logo.
7
That's
cups?
right. If somebody needs to take
go
a cup
cups.
with them.
Exactly.
I can send those. When does that ever happen? Never. Or rarely. Yeah. Like, I will say there was one night, me and some friends were going out, and we had just made drinks, and we called the Uber, because usually in the Oklahoma City area on a Friday or Saturday night, it'll take you 10, 15 minutes to get an Uber.
Right.
So we had just made drinks, and so we requested the Uber, and they're like, be there in 2 minutes. And we're like, oh, shit. Like, put it in some cups. So we put it in those cups, and then when we got to the bar, we threw those cups away.
Nice.
Didn't have to worry about it. So it is good to have some of those cups, but I don't need that many. So we did get rid of a lot of things and a lot of clothing and just some other stuff and junk, books. I had a giant tote of textbooks. Like, when am I ever going to look at that again? But I mean, it was like, in one like little tote, that's like $5,000 worth of textbooks.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's hard to throw them away, and libraries don't want them, and you're never going to go back to it. The information is old. You're going to Google it.
True.
Like back in the day,
that
maybe.
book is probably Googleable. The entire textbook's probably online.
The entire book, you can find the PDF download.
Exactly.
Somewhere if you look hard enough. So yeah, I threw that away. That was painful, because you just look at it as dollar signs, but it's actually not worth anything. Like, yes, you spent that on it, but it's not worth anything. Right. And I think that's kind of like what you're talking about. And I think we get attached to things. Like, I've learned.
Or the memory that came with them.
The memory. And I keep a lot of things because of memories, because I have a terrible memory. And for me, with kind of my head injury and those types of things, stuff helps me remember. But do I need all of the things from it? Probably not. 1 or 2 things is going to suffice.
Right.
And so I think it is, it's a good point you made about, like, it doesn't mean anything. So why are we keeping it? And sometimes we keep it because we have it.
Yeah.
And we never had anything. I know a lot of people that when they finally get something, like maybe they came from nothing, or, their parents never would let them have things. When they have their own money, they're like, I want all the things.
Yeah.
And they just go and buy and buy and buy. It's like, why do you have that? Well, because I could. Okay, but for $50, you could have had something better. Or, these $2 to $10 to $5, like, just constantly buying little things.
Right.
And then, like, well, I really want this. I'm like, well, if you wouldn't have bought. And I do that to myself. Like, I have to keep myself in check.
Well, and I think as kids we did that. Remember, our parents would give us a 10 or a 20 or whatever was, the denomination you were able to get at that time, and you wanted to go spend it. Mm-hmm. But your parent was like, now you can spend some of it here. Right. But you don't spend it all. And I think you mentioned maybe there were kids that didn't have that at all growing up. They got $1, if anything. Right. And so therefore they had to spend every moment, every cent they got, they were spending it. So yeah, that may have just been one of those things that they haven't unpacked. Yes. Yes. Speaking of unpacking. Yes. Let's tie this in with therapy stuff. Okay. I'm sorry I say it that way. No, you're fine. I am in no way a professional whatsoever. But I was curious. You've lived life. I do. That's a good point. Is there someone out there? Let me change this. Are there people out there that have unpacked everything, or do we all hold on to stuff? And You know what I mean? Even people like let's use you as an example. Somebody who is very knowledgeable in how to unpack and how to do
Sure.
things properly and get all that. Do you still have things you hold on to?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't
Would
think
you
there's-
be willing to share one of those? You don't even have to go to the darkest. You know what I mean? Share one of those for people that may be holding on to something that they're just not unpacking, but holding guilt because they're not unpacking it too. Maybe hearing that a professional, a doctor. There's a doctor out there that smokes. I'm sure he
for
knows
sure.
better. You know what I'm saying?
Nurses and doctors are the worst. Like as far
So
as
it's not like you're not being a good professional because you haven't. It's
those
just
who can't do
humans.
teach.
Yeah, no. And those that can't teach call play-by-play.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think so. I think, one of the things that I have struggled with, and I talk about a lot, but is, relationship stuff. And sometimes you have relationships that end and the kind of the why, but you still have questions. And you really would love to have that exit interview,
Get the closure.
Gotcha. And sometimes closure is just the time. Sometimes closure is just what it is. You're never going to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
You may not ever really truly understand what happened or the whys. And that's the answer. The silence is the answer. Like if you're asking questions and people aren't responding, that's your answer. And so I think there's a lot of things that I don't think there's a truly healed, 100% healed person. No, I don't think that you can, unless maybe there's monks who really.
That's all they've done is
That's
worked
all
on themselves.
they've done. And
Mother Teresa was probably fully unpacked.
Probably. No. She probably was a mentally healthy person, which is why she could do what she could do. But if you involve other people in your life, and you work in the real world and you experience things. I mean, I know I've dealt with things that I've had just random people say to me that will still pop in your brain as oh, why did they say that though? It's just they don't know me. If they knew me, they would let me get to know them. So they'll what? Stop. This is a random person. Why is it even bothering you?
Right.
And it's, I years ago, and it's a pretty popular saying, but years ago I heard the saying, we don't take advice from someone who opinion doesn't matter. So if you don't feel like their opinion matters, if you don't feel like they're a decent person and all of those things, but you're listening to their advice or you want their approval, why? Why are we doing that? And so that was one of the things that I kind of had to learn in life. And I think that came from having poor leadership and everything else. And it's what am I supposed to be doing? You get in trouble for one thing, but someone's not guiding you the other way. And so I don't think that there's fully, I, as you know, was in a very abusive marriage. And I was doing what I do. I knew better. I knew all the signs. I knew the reality of it. I knew how it was going to end, but I stayed because I wanted it to be different. And I was in that relationship and it didn't start that way. And I think that's why everyone stays in that. But
there's a level of comfort and security, and even in,
sure, the devil
you're not around him all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's gone for a few weeks at a time, maybe. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
And there's comfort and security in just having a home that you've built, and
yes.
Yeah.
2 incomes.
Absolutely.
God, I miss 2 incomes. Let me just tell you that of all the things, I miss a lot of things about being in a healthy, secure relationship, but 2 incomes is nice in a household. Boy, howdy. I would really love another income right now. But I don't think anyone is ever fully healed. I think the issue comes is when you stop trying to deal with that, or you just don't deal with it at all.
Right.
It's an issue, but you go, yeah, meh. And if you can do that and truly be okay about it, with past relationships, like I said, I will never have the answers, and there's still pain involved in that. But also,
as time goes on, it softens.
What is it going to do me to have that conversation? What
you may find out things you don't want to know too. Not only have solace in not knowing, but find out something. Oh crap! I didn't want to know that.
Oh wait, that was it. Shit. Okay,
yeah, even worse.
Oh, I didn't know.
Wish
that
I didn't
part.
ask. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a careful what you wish for in a lot of it, and there's a lot of people that do seek healing from others. And I think that happens a lot in families and relationships sometimes. But most of the time it's within the family dynamics or friendship dynamics when people are just terrible and they may not be a good parent, but they're that person's parent. And they sometimes want to chase that and figure out why were you not? Because they weren't. And they may be great grandparents. Like we see this a lot where the parents were strict and maybe even mean, and maybe there were a lot of almost abusive situations, or there were abusive situations. And then, you have the child who's concerned about their children being around them because of how they were raised, but they're totally different people now. And the kids don't ever get in trouble, and they wouldn't dare whoop them or say a harsh word or, say a hard thing to them. And you're just like,
who is this? Yeah.
Why didn't I get that parent? Like, I want that parent, but it's because they're tired and they've learned. And I think that happens with most people is as we get older, we learn what's important. And that's why it's so hard. And I do feel sorry for the kids in I guess they're Gen Zers now, the 20s, the newest generation, newest adults, because they've had a really rough time. And COVID stunted a lot of things and changed the way the world works. And so they're in a world that they don't really understand. And most of them in that generation don't have fully developed brains yet because they're not 25. And I think this struggle to find their place in the world. And that's what makes it hard in parenting and being an aunt and being an uncle and being any kind of mentor, teacher, whatever to kids is, because we've been through life and we know what's kind of important and what's not important and where you should plant your flags. Mm-hmm. And they're just standing firm on, well, that doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, you're right. It doesn't to you yet right now.
Yeah, exactly.
One day you're going to look back and go, oh, that is why.
And I mean, me, I always like to simplify things down to the smallest form.
I appreciate it.
In the grand scheme of things, it's a choice at the end of the day, because that person can look at it and think, man, my mom and dad, or my mom or dad, who are a parental unit of any kind, treated me like crap, and now they're not treating my grandchild like crap. Why couldn't I have gotten that parent, instead of saying, thank goodness they figured it out 20 years later, right, and now my kids get a decent grandparent.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
ultimately at the end, there's pain involved in the being raised in in what you were. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you can make a choice to be mad and hold on to that and be upset that you didn't get it, or be thankful that they did. So
sure.
And I think not everything, but I'm sure I could come up with an example of something that's just not that easy, to make that decision. But a lot of things in life that people choose to hang that flag on or die on that hill, it doesn't need, it's not that big of a deal.
It's really not. And I think it's just the recognizing that.
Yeah.
Because what happens is a lot of times people are stuck in that mindset because it's what they know. And that's where, therapy does come in, or just talking to a mentor, a pastor, whoever it is that you hold in respect and that you feel like has their life together. Because I promise, if you talk to them long enough, they'll be like, oh, I don't have my life together. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do as an adult. But, if you take that time to get that different perspective and to talk to people. But a lot of times we get in this stuck mindset and maybe even punish the grandparents. Well, you didn't treat me like that. Like, I can't trust you, or they don't ever give them a chance. And it's just like, they're not the same people. And it sucks for you as your little child, like your inner child, that you didn't get that.
And
it sucks.
And if they didn't learn anything, and if they are the same crappy person, do not put your child through that.
Do not. You get to say no.
Yeah.
Even though they're grandparents. Yep. You get to say no, because you know how you turn out. You know the scars that you still bear.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't believe that, or make comments, everybody wants to blame things on their mom and dad and da-da-da. But really, that's where it comes from. It's where you learn to do life.
Our most impressionable years, right?
most impressionable years. It's how you learn what relationships look like. It's why I'm always so, and there's the research now that say, that children of divorce that have healthy parents after the divorce are happier than children whose parents stay together
For the
and are
kids.
unhappy.
Yeah.
And then they go into relationships mirroring that relationship because they don't know anything else. They don't know that it's not normal for mom and dad to argue all the time. They don't know that it's not normal for you and your partner to not sleep in the same room, or for someone to leave when they get mad, or for someone to do whatever it is. Like, you are teaching them how to be in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, everything. If you don't like each other, but you're staying together for the kids know that.
Right.
Like, they see this and they may just be like, oh, well, is this what it's supposed to be? And so then they get into a relationship where maybe their needs aren't being met. And the parents are like, why are you staying in that?
Yeah.
And they're like,
Well, I think you said it. Instead of, it's those folks that say, oh, woe is me because of my parents. Instead of saying, okay, yes, here's some issues that I learned. Now let's start working on those.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. But you have to recognize that's where it came from. Because you can't say, well, it's not my parents' fault. They're fine. They were fine. No, they weren't. None of our parents did a great job. Let me just say, none of our parents have done a great job because they don't know what they're doing. No one, especially the first-time parent. And now as it gets, as we move into a different world where there's more information and there's more research and there's all of these things, eventually parents are going to know what they're doing, but they're still going to fail.
Yeah.
They're still going to have their moments where they yell at their kid. They're still going to have their moment where they may swat them a little too hard if that's what they're doing in their household. They still may have those moments where they're not going to be good parents because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just winging it. And especially our parents, because we're both in the 40s. And, parents were raised by a generation that were
That went through the Great Depression.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That were spare the rod, spoil the child.
Absolutely.
Like, you were strict and this is how kids were supposed to act.
And they saved everything. Think about it.
Saved
How do you
everything.
think we have so many people that are hoarders
Yes.
now?
They saved
Because they watched their parents that
everything.
saved every coupon and every paper sack and every
You could reuse that.
yeah, they just didn't have a reason to, and they saved
Right.
everything.
They saved everything, even in a time when
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Exactly.
Everything is accessible. So yeah, it's just, so much of who we are comes from our parents. But like Jay said, you don't have to live that way. And you don't get to go, well, I'm this way because of, no. You're that way because of, but you don't have to stay that way. You're making a choice.
I saw
stay that way.
I saw my father and myself in like explosive situations. My dad would blow up if it got to the point where he was done with dealing with whoever or whatever. He'd just blow up.
Sure.
And I saw that in me, and luckily, it's been a few years now since I've really had a blow up. Not possibly, greatly in part to the fact that I just learned that was something that I learned, from my parents, and if I didn't have to do it that way, and it wasn't right too. So
Sure.
that learning all of those things, helped. And I don't know. At the end of the day, I knew when it was happening that it wasn't right.
Right.
The explosion.
Sure.
But it did feel good because you were getting some tension
yeah.
off. You were blowing off some steam,
Right.
But so I guess at the end of the day, you can learn these things, but if you take them and use them or not, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, like you said, you recognize that it didn't feel good to you inside.
Right.
And you remembered how it felt on the other side of that too. And then you have guilt and shame. And, and I do know, because I've been around Jay when he's had one of those with the kids, I have heard him go back and be like, listen, I didn't need to go that route, but y'all also weren't listening. You weren't paying attention. You weren't. So, there was a reason that it got to that point of boiling over, but you recognize, that ain't it. Like, that's not how it should have been done.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. And it's I need to work on that. I need it. When I catch myself about to just lose my shit, I'm going to step outside for a minute. I'm going to go, like, whatever you need to do and come back in and be like, all right, listen, We ain't playing no more.
And raising some rowdy kids helped me too, like even in the workplace, you know.
true.
Now, and I was about to say, I actually gave myself credit for not blowing up, but I think it's just the kids have grown up now, so less blow up, time possibilities.
True.
No. But no, it has that in the home really helped me in the workplace as well, just dealing with children, because sometimes your coworkers can act like kids. You know what I mean?
So much that you're just like, oh my God, I just want to throat punch you right now.
It's like, this is how I talk to my 12-year-old when
Exactly.
they act this way. So here it comes.
I need you to go to your office and just focus for a minute.
Yes.
Okay?
How old are you?
Can
32.
you do that?
Give me 32 minutes in your office. Come back after you've thought about what you said.
You hear that, guys? You're fixing to get timeouts. I'm going to take your phones and computers away. You're just going to go sit in your office.
No screens.
No screens. You're just going to sit in your office with your sound machine on. But it's so true. You know, we do catch a lot of things. And I open my mouth sometimes and hear my mom come out. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
get both
what
parts.
it is. You get both parts. And you work on the parts that you're like, oh, wait, that one doesn't feel so good. I need to acknowledge that and address that and apologize for it when I do it and be like, my bad.
And I can hear somebody saying right now, but my blank, whoever the person, the perpetrator is, ain't going to change.
No.
Well, you know what? That's what forgiveness is about.
That's right.
You can't expect them to change. You change, forgive them. Don't let them in the sphere that causes harm to you.
Yep.
But you can't expect others to change until they're ready.
Absolutely not. And they may not ever be ready. They may not ever see anything wrong with the way they act.
They may take it to the grave.
They may, because that's how they were raised and that's how they want. Okay, cool. But I don't have to subject myself to that. Like you said, I can forgive you for it. I can go, okay, that was how you were raised. You have no ability or want to change. Okay, but I don't have to allow it.
Like great-grandparents saying words that we'd never say now. You know what I mean? Back in the day, because we come from the South, and that's just terminology they used.
It was.
My mom, I remember the first time as a kid that I was familiar with the words that they were using and heard them. And I think my mom saw it on my face, because after we left my grandparents' house, my mom said, now you understand we do not use those terms. They're of a time that's what they taught. That's what they said. So
that's what they said. And in that vein, I don't really feel like a lot of the great grandparents that use those terminologies really, it wasn't really in a negative way.
Right.
It was a descriptor.
Yep.
It was a terrible descriptors. But yes, in the South,
and there was probably deep-rooted hate.
Sure,
but you're right. Not like there was like hatred in that moment for it.
They weren't going to get their pointed hat
Exactly.
and put on their face mask and do the things. It was just down the street, and you're just like, we're just using that word in a sentence.
Yeah.
So we don't have to continue those generational patterns. You get to break them, and if it's something you don't like, and it's something that person is still doing, you set that boundary and you go, I'm not participating in that.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave. I don't want to be around it.
Exactly. And don't subject your children to it.
Absolutely.
Or if you have to go to family reunion or whatever it is, then you make sure you let them know this is not how we act.
Right.
We may have people that are of family that do act that way, but we don't.
But we don't.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. And you can tell them it's not okay because
Yeah.
I give you that permission.
Exactly.
Because
Kids say the darndest things anyway. What are you going to say?
Oh my goodness. I can't believe they told you to stop talking like that.
Wow. Interesting.
Let's just go over here. It's
crazy.
Then you give them a high five
Yeah.
on the side. It's like, don't talk back to your grandparents, as you're like, yeah, you got it. So I do think it's just interesting how, some people look at their family and go, well, that's not how it is. And then everyone else is looking around going, bro, that's how it is.
Exactly how it is.
Like, you have depression in your family, you have addiction in your family, you have all of these things. Mental health is real. Take advantage of the things that are out there to help you. You don't have to deny or say, I'm going to overpower my mental health issue without working on it.
I'm just built
different. That's not how it works.
I'm just going to say, I'm not doing it anymore.
I'm not doing it, which would be great if that worked.
I hear that all the time.
Oh,
With
yeah.
Teenage son.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm just built different.
Built different.
I just wouldn't have diabetes anymore.
It's his genetic superiority.
I love the boy. I love the boy to death.
Oh,
But it's
yes.
true. Maybe that's just youth.
Yeah, it is.
I remember absolutely feeling invincible
Oh yeah,
at
for
a
sure.
at that age, at his age.
Yeah.
I was invincible.
Because you don't know the fears of the world.
And I probably thought at one I know for a fact I thought at one point with, advancement in modern technology, I'll probably live forever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Because I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Look at me. Look like this when I'm 60.
That's right. You're not going to ever get fat or
Yeah.
out of shape or any of those things. And then you start aging and genetics and
Cholesterol,
metabolism.
yeah, everything.
You're like, oh, damn. I'm not perfect. But yeah, it is the age thing. And I admit, like one of my coworkers, her son went to prom and it's his first prom ever. And he got all dressed up with his little first girlfriend ever. And she said, snap. And I was just like, oh, I remember when it was just so easy.
Yep.
And then that first heartbreak just kills you because you don't know that there's going to be any more. You don't believe that there's going to be any more. That's the end
That's
all
the only
be all.
one. That was the only one,
it.
that first one.
I will never love
Yep.
again. Listening to all the sad songs.
Yeah, watching Romeo and Juliet. The new version.
The
With
new version.
Leo.
Oh, yes, of course. And then you get older and you're like, oh my God, who was that person? You run into him somewhere and you're like, oh, that's what you are now. Okay. I didn't even recognize you.
Didn't need all the teeth, I guess, after all. No.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
Yeah.
No, no.
Okay.
So yeah, I miss the youthful naivete of knowing that you're going to do all the things and you can conquer the world. And I think you can. Like if you keep the right mindset and you grind it out and you put in the work.
And don't let life beat you down.
Don't let life beat you down.
Because it's going to beat on you.
Oh,
Just don't let it fully beat you down. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just keep grinding. And you truly can do just about anything you want to do. I will stand behind that. But you have to put in the work and be ready for it and have the headspace for it and, be as healthy as you possibly can mentally and physically and just put in the work to be whatever it is you want to be. I mean, hell, look at Jelly Roll. He's almost 40 and he's just now in the charts and he's been playing music since he was in his 20s.
I was going to say he didn't just start doing music like 2 years ago though.
Right.
With, what I mean? He's been doing music his whole life. And then when he decided to give up the drugs and give up the lifestyle and just focus on music, what happened?
Yeah. That's when he got there.
Because he has talent. He has more talent right here than I've got my whole body.
Oh, for sure.
And now more humility and more love for people.
The heart.
Charlie Roll's he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
When you took a photo of him, I had just heard his name. Like literally just heard his name. You're like, oh yeah, I love his music,
Yeah.
And you took a photo you knew I wouldn't have known to take a photo with him that day. If I saw him walking down the street, he's larger than life, so I would have known he's somebody.
Sure.
But I would have known who he was until he hit country music radio.
Yeah. Yeah. He a big dude. He's a big dude.
I love how Google or Wikipedia says he's like 5'7".
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. He's tall as Jackie, and Jackie's like 5'8". He's taller than her.
Yeah,
she's
in
5'8".
the picture, yeah, he's got to be 6'1", 2
at least
or more.
And he had on just regular shoes, like he just had on a
In
pair
the
of
sand.
Nikes in the sand at the Tortuga Music Festival.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, it's when you get on the right track, and I think it's being clean and sober. Ish. I'm not even going to say you have to be completely sober.
Yeah, because what do they call that? Sober with smoking weed now still?
Yeah.
What do they call that? They call it a something sober.
Yeah, it's something sober, but I can't.
forget what it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But and if you can tolerate alcohol, that's fine. If you can but you have to know your limits. And if you have an issue with addiction, you're going to have an issue with addiction to everything. You can't just stop one thing. Well, I'll just drink a little alcohol. Okay, maybe you could drink a little alcohol when you were using meth, but now that you're not using meth or heroin or cocaine,
you're going to do that all the
your
time.
alcohol is going to be what you're masking, whatever it is, because most people aren't using drugs just because it's fun. Most people are using drugs and getting high and doing all of the things on a regular basis because of something inside them that needs healed, because they're masking something. They're doing it to cover up or to sleep because they have nightmares or to do everything else.
Sorry. You talk about psychotropic only, or does like nicotine fall into that category?
I think...
Because there's addiction, obviously. And
sure. And I think people need cigarettes. And I think that's what when I talk to people about, they're like...
It's about needing something.
It's about needing something. Is the way I look at it. Is if they're like, well, I don't really have a problem. I drink every night, but I don't really have a problem. I'm like, okay, then stop.
Yeah, don't drink for a week.
Don't drink for
Give
a
yourself
week.
a month. Yeah.
And if you can do that and not have the cravings and not need it, then you may not have a problem. I mean, your body's going to end up having problems. Like, it's not good for your health. There's a lot of studies. It's not good for your health to drink
Every night.
every night to excess, all those things. You may be functioning. You may be doing other things. It's not good for your body. Not going to end well.
You're pickling in your liver.
Pickling it. You're doing a lot of things. It messes with your brain. It messes with your metabolism. It actually does mess with your sleep. You know, you're like, oh, I have to drink alcohol to go to sleep, but you're actually not getting good sleep when you drink alcohol. You never get into REM sleep if you've been drinking alcohol. Your body keeps you above it. It feels like it because you pass out and you don't remember things,
Right.
but you never truly get to a REM sleep state because the alcohol is keeping you awake to a certain extent. So you're really not getting good sleep. It's really not doing what you think it's doing.
Right. You're just so that you don't know.
Right.
Exactly.
It's helping in that moment.
Yeah.
But then the thoughts come back, then the anxiety comes back, then the whatever it is that you're using it for. You know, a lot of schizophrenic people use really hard drugs because it helps them not really recognize that they're having voices.
Suppress the voices, maybe. Huh.
So that's why you see a
Do
lot
some
of
heroin or something.
seriously
Wow.
mentally ill people who have pretty strong drug addictions because they never got good health care. They never got on the medications that would help. They never got the life skills, the coaching, the therapy, the case management, the stuff that teaches people how to live with their mental illness. Because you can live with pretty serious mental illness and be functioning in society and do all of the things. But a lot of times they come from families where these serious mental illnesses are in the family already. So probably not the most healthy families.
And probably already medicated by some other form.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
And so they start giving it to the kid, or the kid's just
It helps
using
me,
it now.
or whatever, yeah.
Right. So we have these addictions that start very early for, you know, the wrong reasons. It's not like they just ended up on Skid Row and started, you know, which, you know, we're all like missing 2 paychecks away from being on Skid Row. Like, I don't know anyone that has the comfort that they could not work or miss paycheck or miss work and still live the lifestyle that they continue to live within a month or two.
Right.
Because we don't
Yeah,
live that way in this society.
And if you have assets, you'd have to start selling them. You know what I mean?
You'd have to start selling
and
them
then
off.
eventually that would dry up.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're living in your car because it's the only thing you can still afford with whatever you're doing. And so it's, you know, working in community mental health is really hard. It's not for everybody. But, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I always try to stress to everybody is when they're judgy about, and there are people that choose to be homeless. I will say I worked with the homeless population in Oklahoma City too. There's a lot of people that choose to be homeless. They don't want the responsibility. They are fine with the risk of being home. Okay, cool. You like it. I love it. There's some people who lost their job and then had to pay medical bill or whatever it was. And that's why they're homeless. You know, but we are all just one bad decision, one terrible event away from being that person you're judging.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a shower. Well, maybe they don't have water. Maybe they can't afford to get their water turned back on. Maybe there's something in their house that needs fixed and they can't afford the repair. It's just really like...
Or maybe they don't like to shower, so they choose not to, and that's why they smell bad. Do you think they care that you're judging them for not showering?
They don't care. Hygiene may have never been taught.
Yeah. So not only are you a bad person, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Don't make fun of the stinky kid. It's cool.
Man, that's a tough one too. I had that conversation on the radio the other day, and I truly believe you're a piece of crap parent if you send your child to school not washing their clothing or making them take a bath.
Sure.
Because kids will be kids. I remember fighting my mom tooth and toenail not to have to take a bath or a shower.
Absolutely.
100%. But it wasn't up to me.
Right.
Thankfully, I wasn't the stinky kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But if you have a parent who's stoned or high, or you don't have water, or hygiene is not anything they care about either, because maybe they're so depressed they're not even getting out of bed, and you have this kid who's raising themselves who doesn't know they need a bath every day.
Yep. And then to move it to the next, we can't assume 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds to 12-year-olds maybe a little more. They're hateful at that point, but before that, even you can't expect a 6-year-old in kindergarten not to say, "You smell funny." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, beyond that, Now the other kid that is mean is going to take it to the next level and be a bully. But that's where I'm saying it's beyond the bullying. It's got I don't know. I don't know where I
Yeah,
was
it's
going with
sad. No, it's a sad. I mean, it's a sad
yeah.
thing, and you're right. It's the parenting, and then it's where where are the other adults in this kid's life? Because I know teachers and schools are overwhelmed, and they get caught up in a lot of things and a lot of responsibilities they probably shouldn't have. But why isn't somebody talking to that parent? Why aren't they calling and saying, "Hey, your kid's getting bullied"? Because a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Well, teaching the job or career of being a teacher has changed dramatically in the past 20
Absolutely.
years. We now recognize on the school board level, on nationally and statewide, that the number one thing. You remember what the number one thing back in the 80s was? Education. The number one focus of the school for your child was the education. Now it's their safety.
Yeah,
Number one is safety, then
that makes
education.
sense. And it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's sad that they have to
And you can
even
add
focus on
feeding
that.
kids that don't get
Right.
meals into that safety.
Right.
You can add, I mean, there's a lot of things that come with that. You know what I mean? But safety is number one,
Yeah. It
which
makes sense.
I appreciate, promise you.
For sure.
Because education, don't get me wrong, I'm high value education, but also someone who's made a life for themselves without the next level of education, just high school education.
Yeah.
And I didn't work very hard in high school. So you could say
Right.
I probably stopped really learning my 8th or ninth grade year.
Yeah.
When it comes to the actual math, language, I learned all the language after high school.
Sure.
And that was due to talking and writing and reading,
Right.
Radio stuff. So I don't know. Education is very important, but I'm happy that safety is top priority now.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But it is sad that this society is now we have to make safety their top priority.
Exactly. And it's, and it puts things on schools and teachers and those things that they didn't get in the job for. But it is what it is now.
Yeah.
Like, this is the job now. It's kind of like when I deal with law enforcement who don't want to deal with mentally ill people. And I'm like, 80% of your calls are mentally ill people. Like in most areas, I really haven't done the numbers here, but I know in like the metro Oklahoma City, Tulsa area, like 80% of their calls were for mental health reasons.
Dang.
It ended up by the time they got there, like maybe it was a domestic, but it was based in,
Outside
mental
of traffic.
health or outside of
Gotcha,
traffic,
gotcha.
those types of things. Yeah, the normal.
Yeah.
But so it's like you have to deal with mental health. I'm sorry that as an officer you don't want to, but it's you have to, because that's the nature of the world that we live in now.
And I like you made the statement. I think it was on this podcast back in the day, or maybe we may have been just talking. But you said something about the fact that it's not illegal to be crazy and walk down the street. Basically, is what you
Right.
said. And I thought that struck me because you're right. The average American looks at a homeless person that is maybe crazy. That's probably not the terminology I should even use now.
That's fine.
That has mental health that is obvious in the moment.
Sure.
And people think, well, why don't they do something about that?
Right.
What are they? I mean, now if they're breaking windows and you know what I mean, there's difference between just walking down the street and hollering at somebody that's not there.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And breaking things. So.
Like if you having a whole ass argument with whoever is in your head, but you're not hurting anybody and you're not actually yelling at somebody, there's nothing we can do. We can try to refer them to services, but they're homeless. They don't get to services most of the time. You can't track them down again because they may be at this place right now.
And you can't make them go unless they're actively hurting themselves or something,
That's right. If they are immediate harm
Right.
to self
Physically
or
doing it,
others,
yeah.
physically doing something, not 2 weeks ago, and we get that a lot. Well, they were 2 weeks ago. I saw them. Okay, you should have called 2 weeks ago then I could have done something.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right now, they're chill. Like, I can't do anything with this. Like, we can get them an appointment. We can get them somewhere to get maybe medication, something like that. But unless it's active, I can't do anything with that. And so it is one of those things that it can be scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been around
Seems-
a lot
yeah.
of people that you're just like, you are not well.
Especially you're
Or are
not
you
from a
gonna
big
harm me?
city where that's often
Sure.
common.
Or it can be a little, but it's one of those things like sometimes and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever is happening, they've got it under control apparently
Yeah.
inside their head, or they're just chatting away and it's pleasant, When I have someone that comes in and tells me they hear voices, sometimes I'm like, okay, what do you want to do about it? Because they don't always want to get rid of their voices. Like, they like their voices. Sometimes they don't have mean voices. Like, not everyone has that voice that's kill yourself or hurt someone or whatever it is.
Friend.
Yeah. And so they like the chatter and it keeps them company. And I'm like, okay, then we won't medicate. If you like it, I love it. Like, if you're comfortable with it and it's not causing you problems anywhere, okay.
Come back if they start telling you dark things.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
If it gets scary, like, are they ever scary? Do you have that voice? Because the majority of people who hear voices or see things that other people can't, there's usually a part of it that's scary. There's a part of it that's telling them to do bad things or say bad things or harm themselves or harm other people, or that they're just going to die, all of these things that would be pretty terrible to hear on a regular basis,
right,
on rotation in your head all the time. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes I just have chatter and friends, and there may be one little dark one, but the rest of them keep it under control. And it's just like, okay, well, I mean, until it bothers you, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing when you actually get to know someone and their struggle. But a lot of times people are just scared of them.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the mentally ill people you see on the streets, most of them really are not scary. I mean, they really aren't going to do anything to hurt you. They're just sick.
Yeah. Well, can I say the majority of the people that I could think of that would probably, like, they see someone that is mentally ill walking down the street talking to themselves, they get on the other side of the road, they're that scared. They probably cross the road when, anybody that they don't recognize is coming across.
If you were walking down the street.
Exactly. Well, that's a big man. I'm going on the other side. He's hairy. I'm on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because anybody can be scary.
True. Good point. Yeah, and you can be uncomfortable in a situation, but that doesn't make it illegal.
That's right. And there's nothing that law enforcement can do. If you're calling law enforcement and they're saying there's nothing we can do, sometimes there are departments who are just lazy and they don't want to. But for the lot of it, there's nothing they can do. And, luckily I've built some relationships in this area where almost every officer in the county has my cell phone number, which is fine. I don't hate it because they call me and ask me.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do? Can we help this
There's
people?
a situation. Yeah,
Yes.
That's good. I like that.
So it is getting better, but then there's agencies who will pick someone up, take them to the hospital, and dump them at the front door.
I would rather an
That's
officer
illegal.
call you up and get the details on what should be done in a situation than to just snatch somebody up, take them to jail. You know what I mean? When they shouldn't be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I would rather an officer not know the law and find it out than to think they know the law and be wrong.
Right. Absolutely. And put someone, like you said, put just someone who's having, because mentally ill people do commit crimes.
True.
And criminals sometimes have some mental illness. So you just have to weigh that out. Like, is their criminality way worse than their mental health issue, or did the mental health issue create the criminality?
Right.
Like, if they, trespassed, if they broke into someone's house and when you start talking to them, they're like, no, I live here. These are my people and that's my so-and-so. And then people are like, I don't know this person. Obviously, we're having some mental health issues.
Right.
It's not just a home invasion where they've broke in because they're going to rob the shit out and hurt people. Like, you're there and they're saying, no, this is my house. These people are in my house. And they're like, listen, here's I've been here for a minute. Like, I don't know who this person is. They don't probably need to go to jail for trespassing. They need to go to the hospital. They need to get evaluated. They need to be looked at because something is not right. But then again, if they broke in and hurt someone and you get there and they're like, well, I heard that they were talking about me. And you're like, well, where did you hear that? Well, the voices told me that. Okay. But they've done all of this damage and they've actually injured someone. And you can tell that they're still kind of based in reality. Yeah, maybe let them go sit in jail for a little bit. And then we can figure out what's going on because you can see it's just not an obvious mental health reason that they're there.
Gotcha.
But sometimes it's a very obvious mental health reason and they just take them to jail and they're sitting and then they're driving everybody crazy. And then we get a call 2 or 3 days later because the jail's like, this person's driving us crazy. They're talking. And I'm like, well, what happened? And they tell me the story. And I'm like, why are we just now? Like, why didn't they just take them to the hospital that night when it was going on? Well, because and I'm like, oh, whatever. Now here we all are, putting in more work than we have to. When if you'd have just took him to the hospital, we could have eval'd him, probably got him on some meds, maybe deferred some charges, whatever it is, and they would be okay. Whereas now they've sat in jail, they've been in a fight because they're hallucinating or delusional, and the other people in there are sick of hearing it, so they whoop their ass. And I mean, it's just it can get out of control real quick. So it's important to balance that and measure that out. And just because you're sick doesn't make you a criminal,
Right.
and they don't always deserve to be there. So I don't know. It's just weird because there's no one that has escaped mental health issues. There is no one who, even if you yourself feel like you don't struggle with anything, which I bet you do, but even if you don't feel like you do, there's someone in your family that has. There's someone in your close circle that has. There's someone that you look at and go, man, I think he's depressed. I mean, he hasn't said anything, but oh.
Mental health hasn't gotten quite the exposure cancer has yet, but look at it that way. Mental health has the same connection as cancer does. Everybody knows somebody who has cancer.
That's
or
right.
has died from cancer or has gotten better from cancer. You know what I mean? Or gotten over cancer, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's getting better. I can say these generations below us have really made some strides in making therapy more mainstream. It used to be very hush hush.
Absolutely.
Like, no, I'm not going to therapy. You're like, I'm going to therapy.
Yeah.
When's my appointment?
Just 10, 15 years ago, it was still taboo.
Oh yeah, for sure. You didn't just go to therapy unless something was really wrong with
Right.
you. And now it's like, man, I'm just struggling with a little anxiety. I'm gonna get a therapist. I'm gonna go, which is great. I love it. I do love it.
I feel like men can be a little more open about it too. There's like a campaign for men to feel more open about talking to someone.
Yes. And I think that's so important because, men are taught to just hold it in or not express it, or you're a pussy if you cry. It's
You
like,
ain't
no. Like, let it cry. Yeah. Let your little boys cry.
Absolutely.
Let your little boys cry, and then you talk about it. Why are you crying? What are you upset about? Okay, let's figure out why because you would do that to your girl, and you're not feminizing your boys. You're teaching them that emotions are appropriate, because if not, they're just going to be mad and throw things and yell and scream, probably like you do, parents.
Right. I think as a dad who taught my sons that there are times when it's not appropriate to cry
Sure.
on the baseball field.
Sure.
Just because that's 100% a man thing, I get it, but I think they learned something from that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Maybe not the best thing to learn. I don't know, but
But I think it's appropriate because if you're crying on the baseball field,
there's no crying in baseball.
people are going to make fun of you. Which is terrible. People shouldn't make fun of anybody for feeling their feels, but they do. So, you're going to, bring more on. Whereas if you can hold it in and cry about it later or talk about it or figure out why you got that upset. But yeah, I think there's appropriate time to show the emotions. And it's like and I heard you guys talking about it on the air the other day, the bathroom challenge thing, which I don't know why they're calling it a challenge, where people are allowing their kids to go into the bathroom and say cuss words or flip them off or whatever. And, a lot of parents are up in arms about this. Why would people allow their kids and film it? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not on board for people filming it.
Right.
I mean, it is pretty funny to see these little kids in there going, bitch, flipping off their parents like, "Ee." But I think it teaches, because let me tell you something, your kids are going to cuss.
No. My children have never.
Those little delicate mouths are cussing. They're calling people punk asses. They're cussing people on Fortnite. Listen to a Fortnite.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
put on some headphones and listen to a Fortnite game. These little prepubescent children are dropping some F-bombs.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they're in there with it because they talk like that, because it's not that terrible for your child to cuss. However, they need to know when and how to use it.
Yep.
Like,
Don't cuss in front of grandma.
You don't cuss in front of grandma. We don't cuss at school. We don't do, and what the best thing, my favorite thing is when a little kid, like, when they're first starting to really talk and they're like using the curse words appropriately in a sentence. I'm like, well done. However, let's not say that here. You can't say that to teacher.
Right.
Well, I told that bitch to shut up. And I'm like, no, okay. Well, I mean, I understand, but we can't talk like that in front. So this bathroom challenge thing, it says you can use these words, but you have to be in the bathroom by yourself with the door closed. and you can go in and you can yell and scream and cuss and whatever. And when you come out, you're done with it. And I actually think it's a pretty good parenting tool because you're saying, feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Go in there, say all the things you want about me, but they're not to me. Like you can go in there and cuss me because kids are doing that, by the way.
Yeah. They're going to go scream into their pillow the cuss words that they're, you know what I mean? They're going to do it at some point.
They're doing it anyway.
With your approval, though, that's really smart. I like
think
that.
it is too. And it teaches them that it's okay to feel emotions. It's okay to express emotions. However, we need to do it in a safe place. We need to do it in a place where it's not going to affect anyone else. We're not lashing out at people. So I really think it's like there's a lot of people that have gone on like, I would never. And I'm like, your child already is.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know your child is doing this, but hear me out. Your child is cussing you and flipping you off every time you shut that door. Like, they're doing it anyway.
Ring cameras are catching it by the droves.
Oh, my gosh.
The
Those
little
are
kids,
the best.
Flipping off. And,
I didn't want a sandwich for lunch.
Yeah.
They go out for it. I don't want these chips, but I guess I'll eat them because you said so. They're doing it anyway.
Yep.
But you're teaching your children that there is a time and a place that is appropriate. And I really think that's a great tool.
I agree.
Because they're not going to school and taking it out on people. They're not taking it out on their siblings. They're not yelling at you, and they're not doing it in public. Like, they know they can go to the bathroom, and there's a bathroom everywhere. So
Let out that aggression,
If you get upset at a restaurant, go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
And it's not, we're going to don't make me take you to the bathroom.
Now, you may have to, in the bathroom at a restaurant, you may have to keep the level of a loudness down, but you can still go
if it's
quieter.
If it's a one-holer, you can, be in there by yourself. But, if you're in a stall, you may have to just go in there, mumble, and you may have people going, what is happening in that stall beside me? But it's okay because you're teaching that there is a safe place to express emotions and that it's okay to express emotions. And I think that's the biggest thing is, a lot of people teach their children that they shouldn't emote.
Yeah.
Don't cry. Suck it up.
Right.
You're going to go in there and smile. You're going to it's like, what? Why? No. Like, let your children feel their feelings because then they become adults who feel appropriate feelings.
Miranda Lambert said it best. This ain't my mama's broken heart.
That's right. Don't just put on your lipstick and move on. Like, feel it. Like, embrace it and go on. So, I mean, there's a lot of backlash over that. And I don't agree on the filming it and putting it on social media. Like, if you want to film it because you think it's funny and send it to your family or friends, whatever, that's fine. But when you're putting this on social media, that's there forever.
Yep.
And if you tag your kid's name or someone looks them up, even in adulthood, they don't want to see this video of themselves because if it's on the internet, it never goes away. It never goes away.
Yeah. Not everything has to be uploaded.
Not everything has to be uploaded. Like, social media should be for you, not for the world, not for the likes, not for any of those things. Unless you're a creator, then that's fine. But you don't bring your kids into it. You don't, do these things that could be embarrassing for them later in life. You do need to be a little forward thinking on what you're putting out there.
Now, my son did turn 20 today. And there was an embarrassing photo of him in his glasses, smiling with just the two big front teeth.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And those are natural photos. So
Yes.
it's not like he's sitting there cussing in that same setup to the camera.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's different,
Yeah.
but it's
But you're right.
just-
No, when you put that type of thing out there, I think that the child will have to live that down especially if it goes viral.
Absolutely.
They'll have to live that down for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
I mean, there's kids on memes that still, that one girl with that weird looking meme? I finally saw the entire video for the first time from that meme.
I don't think I've ever seen the entire video.
There's actually the sister or there's another kid in the other seat that's like loving the fact they're about to go to Disney World or Disney. And then she's like, you excited too? And that's the picture. She's like trying to be excited. But she's like, So anyway.
I have never seen that whole
But yeah,
video.
that kid now, or that is no longer a
So
child.
she has to be adultish.
And is a teenager or adult, and I saw a photo of her making the same face, so she'll never live it down.
Never.
She'll make that face for $20 in Vegas probably sometime. No, I'm just kidding.
On her OnlyFans.
She'll have that. Yeah, exactly. She'll make that face while doing the dirty on OnlyFans. I imagine there are millions of dudes lined up for that right now.
Millions. Oh my gosh. Speaking of it, this is very random, but I saw an article today that, what's her name? Drea De Matteo or whatever. She was on Sopranos.
Okay.
apparently something happened and she lost all of her money. And I don't know, she wasn't acting anymore. I don't know what happened in her life after The Sopranos, because they got paid really well
Okay.
for The Sopranos. And she didn't have any more money, and her like acting, she wasn't acting anymore for some reason. I really didn't read the whole article, I'll be real honest. But I did see that when she joined OnlyFans, and within like a week, she had made like $500,000 just because of her familiarity
Name, yeah.
of being that person on The Sopranos, you know?
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, damn.
Now, if she wants to double that, all she has to do is guarantee she will dress up like the Sopranos
Exactly.
character and,
Do
and
her
act
hair
like her.
up and just mimic that. I was
That's
like,
crazy.
oh my gosh.
That's like, what's her name that did the OnlyFans? She broke it. She broke the record for it when she turned 18 or whatever. Bad Barbie or Bad Baby or whatever.
yes. Yes.
I mean, there were dirty old men
Oh, for
just
sure.
waiting for the second for that to happen.
For sure.
Forked over whatever the dollars it took to get.
Absolutely.
And
Which,
I hope she didn't even get completely nude in it.
I hope she
that
didn't
would've been
either.
hilarious.
She just fully dressed. Be
Yeah.
like, here I am.
Yeah, here's
Y'all
me in a
paid
bikini.
for that subscription.
Y'all saw that on Instagram earlier. You know what I mean? But that was $59.99 or whatever.
That's right. And hey, listen, I'm here for it. Like if that's how you make your money and you're doing it safely,
Yeah,
do
totally.
it. If you can make a fortune off of that and bank that up and not have to do anything else, fine.
Lainey J and I are selling feet pics for subscriptions on TikTok. It's pictures of our shoes, but
I love it.
yeah, she's got her Crocs on. I got my shoes on.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey.
But hey, you have to be a subscriber on TikTok, and it costs like $2.99 or something.
Well, there you go.
So it's crazy.
Perfect.
And I only got $1 of it.
I need that.
I know.
I got good feet. I could sell that.
Hey, speaking of, y'all need to go follow her on TikTok.
Yes. Follow me. Get my likes up.
What's
Get
your
my
at?
followers up. I'm it. My at is Hey Therapist.
Okay, that's easy enough.
It's easy enough.
You already typed that in to get the podcast.
And I'm at like 560 followers, I think.
So we're halfway there.
almost there to go live. And I would love to do lives and be able to answer questions as we go. And I know.
We could do TikTok lives when a TikTok live session before or after your podcasts.
Yes. That'd be awesome.
If you did one before, it'd be like, send me some. We'll have a little segment of podcast called "This is what they asked on TikTok"
Yeah.
during the live.
I like it. Now you're thinking.
Now you gotta go. Okay, so you
Why
gotta
you the
keep.
producer?
I know how to. Yeah, I create all these shows, but I find that I don't have enough time in the week to record everything. No.
Well, you're only recording what, 5 now?
Yeah, just 5. Yeah, but one of them is really 3 in one.
That's true.
So technically, and then I've got yours, and I've got regrettable, but I've got actually 2 more in the works that are trying to get me to do something. Now, I have the time. I'm here at the studio,
Sure.
so I have the time. It's others that want to do these things; they have to find the time
Right.
because I'll be here. I'll be at the studio pretty much 3:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and noon to 3 on Saturday or Sunday. I mean, but no. So yeah,
Usually we're not here as late on Sundays.
that's true. No, I was just joking. It's almost 3 now. And we've had a blast.
Oh, wow. We have had a blast.
Chatted it up. It's been a good one.
It goes much faster when I have somebody to talk to.
First time I'm on the video too.
I know.
I'm not liking this a bit. I probably rocked the whole time.
Oh, I do. I will watch my video and I'm like, stop moving. But then here I sit, just still rocking because it's just, rocking is soothing. It's nice. We like
Well,
to rock.
I'll give a shameless plug. At
Do it.
KKBI FM is our TikTok. We go on Monday through Friday at 7:10 a.m. and I've been doing my prep from like 4:45 to 5:15, give or take. So like 20 to 30 minutes of prep time.
Nice.
It's been fun. So yeah, TikTok's doing in today's society. If you're not on TikTok, you're getting left behind. I think
You really are.
unfortunately.
Right now, it's the thing.
Yeah.
It was YouTube. Now
YouTube.
it's TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok has now beat out the Google for most Googled questions or whatever it is. So.
Yeah. And careful will be the information you get on TikTok.
That's true too.
Like there's a lot of bad information. There's a lot of interesting information.
Yeah.
Like you can find anything that you want. It may not be accurate, but so double check your sources. If you see a TikTok that makes you go, what? Go Google some things.
Yeah.
Like go ahead and
Do your due
go back to
diligence
Google
before you
you
repost that sucker, please. Yeah.
Please don't information things. But
We could do a whole episode on false information on just how there are sects of people. I don't think it's just generational, but there's a larger number in the older generations who, oh, I didn't know, and that's okay.
Right.
I shared it because I did, and I didn't know that it was completely false and completely opposite of what it was saying. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The headline says this, the actual thing says this. So sharing the headline alone,
Right.
you say this. You don't realize it. You
Yeah.
don't realize the body is what you're saying if you're sharing a headline.
Because someone's going to read that and be like, wait, what?
Why are you posting this crap? Oh, I didn't know. You should have known.
You should have known.
There's no more excuse. Oh, my bad. I didn't know.
Right. You're not taking a picture of the local paper and
Yeah.
posting it. Well, some people do that too. And also you should fact check those as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Just saying.
yeah, exactly. That's true. I mean, in today's society, I do not believe any national television news, or any social media news. I just don't.
No, I don't either.
I opt to not.
I don't even watch the news.
Yeah,
be real
I
honest.
haven't seen the news in a long time.
Yeah, I know you get the news on the radio.
I get it once an hour.
Uh-huh.
I get statewide news and local news. We even removed ABC News.
Nice.
Excuse me. Because it's all pointed. I don't care what national news channel you choose to go with. It's pointed in a direction they want it to go.
Right. Absolutely. There is no
Left or
neutral
right, it doesn't
news.
matter. Do you see, speaking of neutral news, what's his name? We were talking about Bad Baby. He made her popular. Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil, yeah.
Dr. Phil is creating his own news network.
Is he?
And he says, I'm just going to give you the facts and you decide.
Okay.
That's what he said. I heard that on Joe Rogan, so we'll see.
Well, then
Joe
you know
Rogan.
it's true.
Although Joe Rogan be a little cray-cray, he does put everything out there.
He
doesn't
does.
want to hide anything from anybody.
That is
the way
true.
I see it.
Yeah.
And
He
that's kind of
really
how
is
I am.
good about that.
I prefer just to put everything out there and let people,
As it
figure it
should
out.
be. You should make your decisions, make your own conclusions, do all of those things. But it is pointed. And even, I was reading an article the other day and it was talking about how what my news that I get in my social media feeds will be completely different than your news.
Absolutely.
Because of what your algorithms say and what
what
you're
we search.
pointed to and what you're searching. So
Yep.
we all are not even seeing the same news anymore. And that's just, when I read that, I was like, I never even thought about that. But
And if you share anything from RT News, that's Russian Today, for the record. So anything that's bad propaganda sounding towards us or any Ukraine or anything, and you share it and it has RT, that's Russia Today. I just want you to know that. I mean, it's like believing Chinese news.
the more you know.
They only allow what they want you to know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Russia's the same way. RT, I see RT. I was RT something is shared all over social media. I used to.
Yeah.
I blocked the RT. you
Right.
know what I mean? I don't want to see that crap.
I mean, you have to, you just be, like we said, check your sources. And I think that goes with everything in life. The news, the story that you heard, the gossip that you heard, whatever it is, check your sources.
9 times out of 10, if I see on TikTok, why isn't this on the news? It's usually like a Call of Duty shot or something. You know what I mean? It's a video of like Battlefield. You know what I mean?
Or it's
not even
AI.
real. Yeah, it's not even real, people.
It's not even real. And, AI is terrifying to me, honestly, in what they can do in the pictures. And
Did you hear what I talked about last week about AI? Okay, so I saw this on TikTok. So is it true? I don't know. But it was a seminar a guy was given. He said they were given the task to create, basically be able to see through walls by the government, right? So what they did was they gave AI the router number and a camera of a room, okay?
Right.
So AI took the visual aspects of people walking them around a room and the pinging off of that router created basically the ability to see. Then they took the camera away and that AI recreated the image of the people walking around the room from the other room through the router, through the pinging of the Wi-Fi. So what did that do? That instantly created AI that could see through walls, specifically designed to look at and find and map living beings.
It's terrifying.
Isn't that crazy?
It's terrifying and amazing, but also terrifying.
But yeah, it's 100. I mean, we just witnessed the weaponizing of our Wi-Fi.
Oh, for sure. And cell phones. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. You could ping those and find out where you're at. Yeah,
absolutely.
But Wi-Fi, did you imagine
No.
everything's around us right now? They could ping us. They could see through that wall, through that brick wall.
That's crazy.
And see our bodies just created by little dots.
Crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. And I know that some of the AI, I don't know, Taylor Swift's people suing someone because they AI naked photos of her.
Oh yeah, and sex positions of all kinds, and yeah, absolutely.
And leaked them out, and then
Twitter had them for a while.
Yeah, and it's just like, why are
X.
you? I mean, I know X is freedom of speech for everyone, but yeah.
He shut down. Actually, Elon did the right thing in that.
Yeah.
He shut down the ability to search Taylor Swift on X during that while they got rid of it all. So I'll give him that.
Now Drake, on the other hand, that was not AI.
That was pretty hilarious. No guarantee that's not penis enlargement surgery between the past 20 years, 15 years.
True. I mean, it looked like it was not a healthy penis. It didn't look healthy.
I wouldn't know, luckily.
Oh, I searched it out.
Did you?
I'll be real honest. I'm like, where is it? Let me see. And then you're like, oh, that's disappointing.
Oh, really?
I mean,
didn't. Okay, I thought it was bigger. They talked about how big it was.
It's large.
Okay.
But limp. Like, it's like.
Oh,
Meh.
okay. Meh.
He's like holding it. He's like meh.
Short, shriveled, and always to the left. Not as short, but still shriveled and always to the left.
Like he's meh. Like because he's holding it. It's like meh. And I'm just
hilarious.
like, that's not the money shot, bro. Like, get more blood flow. Like if you're gonna show it, like if you're sending a picture,
yeah, you don't
get all the blood flowing in
you
there.
don't get
And
the
if
floppy
you
flops.
can't, then would be really disappointing.
Maybe that was the problem. Maybe that's what he was trying to do. Get the blood flow.
That's what I'm thinking. But that's the image you shared, though.
Also, something that happens with penis enlargement surgery.
Right. Exactly.
I don't
Get you
know.
a pump or something, bro. Something. Like, that's not the image that I would have shared.
That's
so,
hilarious.
yeah. Anyway. But that
Poor
was
Drake.
apparently real.
So he sent that. See, I did see the video. It was blurred out because I saw it on something that was. I saw it on something I didn't want to have to hide from my wife. No. Right. But it was blurred out. But I did, and it didn't seem like it was his face. It seemed a little. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It was probably pixelated. That's
it
why
was a little.
It kind of looked like it wasn't him, but
it was him. He said it was him.
Oh, okay.
His people said it was him.
Got you. That's
so
funny. He was bragging. He was
I
like,
would not have Let me just say, I'd be like, that ain't me. Like if I saw it, the finished imagery, I would be like, no, tell him it wasn't me. That's AI. Like tell him it wasn't me.
Somebody created that. That's a deep fake.
It's a deep fake because it was disappointing. But yeah.
All right then.
The things
y'all
you
heard
learn.
that.
The
y'all
more
heard
you
it here
know.
first.
What else?
What
you
else?
Got?
I'm done. I think I'm
I think we're
hungry.
done. Yeah.
I am really hungry.
Let's be done.
How long have we gone?
Only
an hour and 15 minutes.
Hey, that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Thanks for joining.
My pleasure. It was fun.
It was fun.
Had
I
a
like
blast.
it better when you're on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll join. I like the shots.
I don't
not too
feel
bad.
so monologue-y and preachy.
I don't know. I think I think those are necessary.
Sure.
I think there are plenty of women out there that have no interest in hearing my voice. So they'll probably
Possibly.
skip through some of these.
Maybe.
They'll hit it on the 1.50 times. You know what I mean? So it'll go
Oh,
fast.
I feel like everybody speeds me up anyway. Because
I think everybody speeds everybody up.
Yeah.
I listen to everything I listen to on my phone at 1.25.
Yeah,
or more.
I speed them up too. And I talk pretty fast, but I try to not talk as fast when I'm recording because I know I talk really fast and it becomes kind of jumbled and hard to. So I consciously try to slow down my speech. But then when I'm editing, I'm like, oh my fucking God, speed up.
That's
why
hilarious.
are you talking so slow? But, I feel like everybody just speeds me up. It's fine. Speed me up. I don't care.
Hey, yeah, speed it up.
It's
That way
you're still listening.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Exactly. Get all the deets.
All right. Let's say goodbye. See you next week.
Peace.
For my producer, Jay Lindley, I'm Leslie Ross. Thank you all for joining us. Please send any questions or comments through the website, heytherapist.com, or email help@heytherapist.com. They may be featured on the show anonymously. Hey Therapist is an SEOK radio production and is for your entertainment purposes only. Thank you for joining us. Make good choices.